Hey guys, it's Chris. From books that are now legendary to tickets that were worth a lot of money, join me as I show you 8 expensive things that people accidentally threw away. First edition Harry Potter book. If you think about the Harry Potter franchise, even if you're not a fan of it for one reason or another, you likely acknowledge that it is one of the most important series of the last 2 decades. It spawned 7 main books, which were later translated into 8 very successful movies. And then it spawned more books, more movies, a Broadway play, and an infinite amount of toys. This speaks nothing of the theme park in Orlando dedicated to the franchise. The point is that if you have something from the Harry Potter franchise that is rare or special, then it's valuable, unless you didn't know it was going to be that, which is what journalist Nigel Reynolds realized all too late. To those who don't know, J.K. Rowling, the creator of Harry Potter, had a very hard time getting her book to be picked up by publishers. She was rejected over 20 times. And then when she did get it picked up by a publisher, she did the interview circuit to plug the book even more, which led to her encounter with Nigel Reynolds. Reynolds was the first person to interview Rowling about her book. In this version, it was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And to thank him for the interview, Rowling gave him a first edition of the book. But Reynolds didn't think it would be popular, and so he threw it away. Well, I kind of hope he gave it away and didn't literally throw it out. But anywho. Now, a first edition of the Philosopher's Stone goes for about 50,000 euros. It's easy to admonish what he did knowing what we know now. However, it must be restated that not a lot of people had faith in this franchise when it began. So him throwing it away, which he likely did with other books he got from interviews, well, it isn't as outlandish as you might expect. But pretty darn sad he didn't see the charm in it. I don't know, I love Harry Potter, so it's pretty sad he didn't see the charm in it. Number 7. $1 million lottery ticket. The nightmare of many lottery players is to be one number off for something like that. But for one Kevin Donovan, he had a nightmare that was much worse. He had a winning ticket, but he threw it away. To be clear, he didn't know he had a winning ticket. Rather, he was playing the game like he usually did and then threw it away. But I'll start at the beginning. Let's backtrack a bit. Kevin Donovan lived in Massachusetts, and he was on disability. So he took a lot of his money he got from checks and would play the lottery. A lot of people do this. He spent over $2,000 in tickets at the White Hen Pantry grocery store, becoming a familiar regular amongst the people there. One day he bought a bunch of scratch-off tickets, thought they were worthless, and threw them away. Enter one Edward St. John, a man who had an interesting habit all his own, collecting lottery tickets that were thrown away. Did you know people did this? Because I didn't. Sure enough, he went to Donovan's house, went through the trash, found the tickets, and then found out that one of the tickets was the $1 million winner. After hearing about this, Donovan tried to sue St. John to get the money, but before the court could rule, he died of a heart attack. Eventually, it was ruled in St. John's favor, because the only thing required of a winner in the lottery is to have the physical ticket, not prove you bought it. Plus, I imagine the fact that it was in the garbage probably didn't help the case. If it's in the trash, it's done for, right? Number 6. Apple One. Apple is by and large one of the biggest tech companies in the world today, and have sparked numerous innovations in the world of technology for many years. But like all companies, they had to start somewhere, which is the case of the computer that was aptly named Apple One. This computer came out in 1976 by the late legend Steve Jobs. This computer would go on to spark a revolution of sorts in the industry and help make both Steve Jobs and Apple household names. The computer itself, though, isn't in use anymore for obvious reasons, which makes it a collector's item. But a person in California didn't realize that and deposited it in the recycling center. When the people there realized what they had, they put it up for auction, and they got $200,000 for it. However, there is a twist in this story, because the people who sold it are actually trying to find the one who left it at the center, because they consider half the money they got hers, and that's really nice. It's unknown if they found the woman, as the center noted that she didn't leave any information, nor get a receipt for recycling the item, so who knows? I wonder if there's a statute of limitations on something like this. After all, $200,000 is a lot, but it's not really $1 million. And now for number 5. But first, have you ever regretted throwing something away? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Number 5. $1 million painting. Elizabeth Gibson was grateful to her television after it led to finding a painting that was worth $1 million. This happened in New York City on Trash Day. The sidewalks are littered with just about everything you can imagine, from various homes and apartments there. It's all just piled up on the sidewalk. It's quite a sight to see. As Gibson was walking by a pile of junk, she spotted something. A painting. Granted, this isn't odd in that people see trash that they think are treasures, but for Gibson, this was something else. Because she recognized via Antique Roadshow the painting as the Tre Personaji, a painting that had been mysteriously stolen 20 years ago. So important was this painting that the FBI had a file about the painting, and they were offering a $15,000 finder's fee to anyone who could lead them to the painting. Gibson picked up the piece, took it home, and then took it back to the owner, getting her reward in the process. There is still a mystery at work here, as no one is sure who put the painting out there on the street. Why go to all the trouble, steal a painting, then hide it for years, only to just throw it out? But Gibson was lucky, for according to the doorman, the garbage truck came 20 minutes after she left with the painting. That's a close call. Number 4. Mayan Artifacts. There are many ways to accidentally throw out valuable items, and for one Nick DeMola, that's quite literally his job, as he's a professional mover. What he does is he goes to residences that have just had a death in the family, and the family will want to pay him to get rid of everything they themselves don't want. One day he got a call to help remove some things from an apartment in New York City after an artist had died. The family told him what to take to the dump, which included a wooden barrel that no one knew had something inside it, including DeMola. But curious, he took the barrel and some other items, which were legally his at this point, and put them in a warehouse. Then 5 years later, he opened up the barrel on a whim and finds himself looking at ancient Mayan artifacts. There were a menagerie of items, including figurines, bowls, and more, and they dated back to 300 BC to 500 AD. The value of these items was $16,500, which if you add to the $4,500 he was paid to move everything, means he got over $20,000 for this job without knowing it. Needless to say, the family was shocked that they had left such valuable items behind, but they didn't know they were there. And because of the terms of the deal with DeMola, they couldn't ask for them back or claim ownership to get the money. Number 3. $114,000 in savings bonds. Leo Gerente is the owner of Junk Depot, a garbage collection company, and one day a heap of items came in from a house belonging to a woman who had just passed away. In a locked chest, Leo found $114,000 in savings bonds. To be clear, the bonds themselves were bought in 1972 and were worth about $21,000 then. But due to the interest building up over the years, it ended up being worth over $100,000. As for what Gerente did with the bonds, well, he returned them to the family. In this case, he gave it to the departed woman's daughter. I could have used that $114,000 just like anyone else, he said. I haven't been on vacation in 10 years, but I did not think for 1 minute that I was going to keep that money. An interesting note though, while he was honest and good for doing this, he used the find to try and get people interested in a TV show about his garbage business. This is why there's footage of him returning the money to the family. Number 2. Wedding ring. Whether it be the husband or the wife, losing one's wedding ring is a terrible thing, especially when it's done by accident, like with what happened to Bridget Pericolo and her ring. This happened in Morris Plains, New Jersey. And for Bridget, it was a day just like any other. She was going to be doing some chores and didn't want her ring getting dirty, so she took it off, put it in a plastic cup, and left it on the counter. And while she was doing her chores, her husband, Angelo, decided to take out the garbage, which in his mind included a seemingly empty cup in the kitchen. "I looked for the cup and it was gone," she said. "I called Angelo and asked him where the cup was, and he said, 'Oh my God, I threw it out.'" On one hand, the garbage truck had already gotten their trash and was making their way through the neighborhood, but they caught it just in time, so the truck could be contacted and the garbage itself could be dumped into a special place so it could be searched through. The problem here, though, was by the time it was dumped, 10 tons of garbage was compiled. This usually would take a long time to sift through, but the Paracolos had a unique way of tying up their garbage bags, so they were easy to spot, and the ring was eventually found in only 45 minutes. Number 1. Freedom Tower Blueprints. Believe it or not, there are many kinds of documents that aren't meant to be put into the public eye, including blueprints of buildings that have special importance to governments and people, such as the Freedom Tower in New York City. So imagine the surprise of a certain homeless man when he found the actual blueprints for the tower next to a garbage can in Manhattan. In terms of monetary value, these blueprints technically don't have much worth, especially since they were from an earlier version of the building that was later constructed. However, to those who might have gotten their hands on them, there was enough detailed information to plan out various kinds of attacks on those in the building, thus making it priceless in certain aspects. So many who go to the tower should consider themselves lucky that a homeless man was a witness of 9/11 and was more than happy to get the materials to the proper authorities. Who dumped the plans there despite them saying confidential is still unknown. Thanks for watching. What did you think of these expensive items that have been accidentally thrown away? Can you believe this happened to some people? Do you think this could ever happen to you? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to World List, and I'll see you next time.